Look, I opened this jar of rotten baby food, and well, a butterfly came out.
Welcome to the Comedians in Elevators podcast. I've got my guest, Tanisha Ratliff. Tanisha, introduce yourself. Say hi. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I'm Tanisha Ratliff, mother, CEO, and inventor of my own technology called Umba. It's going to be a virtual headset, VR, and also available for your telephone as an app, and also have other various type of capabilities. And I'm going to have other inventions to be launched as well soon. And I'm also a surgical technologist and an actress.
Awesome. Wow,
And
that's
other
yeah,
things.
yeah. What other things? I mean, I didn't know you're inventing technology. I have questions, but what else are you doing?
Well, that's good enough for right now. But
Okay.
it is patent pending, and
Uh-huh.
hopefully it'll be patent by August.
That's
And
awesome. Can you
it's international patent, and I'm hoping to go in competitor with another a social media profile that everybody's using, but mine is going to be American based also and also international based. But I'm an American girl, so
uh,
what can I
100%.
say?
This is awesome. What can you give us a little idea of what it does? What it's about?
Well, it's like TikTok on steroids or whatever. So the steroid part is the VR headset, but it's
Okay.
going to have other capabilities. Um, and yeah, you can get to it with your phone, but when you want to take it a step further, you can come into my virtual world. And then, we're just going to have fun. And then it's going to be not only for content creators, but it's also going to have something for the healthcare market also. So,
Okay.
you can access it from your phone wherever you are in the world, and you can also access the VR with your VR headset.
So it sounds like the privacy settings are kind of a fundamental component, right?
Oh yeah, definitely privacy. I'm all big about privacy, especially working in surgery for almost 20
Yeah.
years. Privacy
Yeah.
is a big thing. And there
100.
are other stuff that govern privacy. But I'm real big on my privacy. Like when I'm in the bathroom and my daughter and them want to come in and want to have a conversation, I'm like, didn't I teach you about privacy? Hello
Uh,
here.
right. So could this solve that problem in any way? I know I'm trying to think outside the box, but could it address like, smaller spaces? You're in the bathroom trying to be private and could it somehow have an effect?
Well, if you get the other parts that have not been invented yet, but it is in the books, then yeah,
Okay.
we'll be able to stop somebody at the door. Whoop, mom in the
Huh.
bathroom.
Very cool. I like it. I like it. Well, you're bringing a lot to the table. I tell you, that sounds like this podcast would probably fit really well in that environment.
Of
Does that
course.
make sense?
So that's something for
Awesome.
everybody, and it's going to be able. Other people have to, be able to do whatever they like to do. I got friends that are artists, so you can come into their virtual studio, and other things like that. You can see your favorite basketball game, and you can go into the concession stand, and you can actually meet real people, and you can actually meet real people in the virtual mall. So
All
it
right.
is a utility patent, something like that. But it will address virtual worlds and meeting places and things like that to hang out virtually and just enjoy yourself.
Well, this sounds awesome. I mean, that's super cool. So let's see if how the comic versus comedian can fit in that kind of environment, shall we?
Okay.
All right. So just to define it for everybody, I'm defining the comedian as a funny person who tells any jokes versus a comic who's any person telling funny jokes. So it's two sides of the same coin. A lot of people will argue you start as a comic and you evolve into a comedian, right? So the first question is the role of persona in comedy. So how much of the comedian's voice is a character versus their real self?
Well, as me being an actress, you want to be authentic because it
Mhm.
feels more natural. It'll come off more natural, and you'll be able to remember your lines actually a whole lot better if you just come
Yeah.
off of being natural and genuine. So I believe that the comedic is natural, and when you're trying to have that persona, and when you're trying to be it, you're you're gonna force it a little bit, trying to imitate someone. But
Okay.
yeah.
That's a good point. So the idea, if you're not being yourself, you're actually being someone else, which actors, it's kind of the goal, right? Is to
Right,
embody somebody else. So it sounds like you're identifying three things going on, right?
right,
Because the
right.
real comedian is being themselves. The comic is being anybody, right? And then there's
Anybody,
this
right.
impersonation, which is also going
Right.
on.
The impersonation that's really going on. And that's when you gotta zen them in. You gotta zen them in. Whew, gotta breathe. And then you just become, hey, yeah, what you say? Okay.
100,
I'm from the
100%.
valley, I'm from the hills, whatever.
I think you got that one actually. That's pretty good. I grew up in the valley, so I definitely experienced a
See?
lot of that, and you're pretty much on point with that. So does authenticity matter, or is illusion part of the magic?
Well, it matters to a certain point because that's what's going to help you make the illusion.
Right.
You have to be within yourself to know what yourself want outside of yourself.
That's
So,
actually
what would I want outside of myself?
okay.
Myself, me, myself, and I, because I am she and she is her, and I, we are we. But listen, of course, I'm going to always think about what I want, and then I'm going to go out there and make it happen and try to make it happen on a bigger scale.
You're really poignant. I really like the way you're describing it. I think you already got it down. All right, well, let's make it more difficult. Let's make it more difficult with this next question. So
Okay.
punching up versus punching down. Where do comics versus comedians stand on this?
Well, punching up. A seasoned comedic knows when to go up, knows when to go high. You gotta know when to go high and when to go low. But somebody that's just trying to, go with it, they don't know when to stop, and they're just always trying to go above and beyond, always punching up, but they don't know when to, okay, maybe I need to learn and listen a little bit. But the comedic knows when to wait for that
Hmm.
punch line. Yeah, they're
That's
gonna let you
that's
talk, and then all of a sudden they're gonna evaluate you, and then they're gonna be like, "Damn,
So are we talking about the audience with the evaluation?
yes, you gotta evaluate how they talk, their body language. Oh, you know what I'm saying? So anything that you can find that you can build off of.
Okay, 100%. So would you say that the audience agreement with the comedian is a form of permission or alignment?
I would say it's both. I need the permission to walk in this room to so
Okay.
that we can make a line, so I can make you laugh.
All right, you're doing both. So you're doing everything. You're making so
Yeah,
you really have you've already identified how the comic and comedian are both two sides of the same coin, which is really good. All right, cultural translation of comedy. So how do jokes that work in one country bomb in another?
Uh, well, like I told you, I have been working in surgery for 20 years. So I've
Mhm.
been working with all type of people from all over the world. And some of their jokes just might not be funny to Americans. And some
Right.
of our jokes might not be funny to somebody else that's not from America. But we will say, hey, before I make this joke, listen, it's just a joke. And then sometimes people won't get it because if you're not over there, you're not used to the struggle, then you really won't understand that why I'm doing these things and saying these things I do. But we think you're funny, and because that's not really uh, Italian bread, that's really dessert bread. So y'all think y'all losing weight, but y'all really eating more of a dessert. So,
So you're just skipping. So what you're saying is you're just skipping the main course and you're going straight to dessert, and that's how you're going to keep your waistline thin.
yeah. Woo.
So would you say the comics are more universal while comedians are more culturally specific?
Um, I believe that one is more relatable than the other one because one studies the room and the other one may study uh, just a few things and go off
Okay.
of that. So,
So
once
which
again, you got to know your audience. So one just knows a wider scale of audience and knows what funny over here, but they might not find funny, you know, some places you got to walk hand in hand with your mate, and some places you got to walk in the back of. I,
okay. So which one is which? Which one's holding off in the back, the comic or comedian?
I would say the comic.
Okay. It's a tricky one. Look, I'm
It's a
making it
tricky one,
difficult.
man. You
I
got me on
know.
this one.
I'm making it difficult. All right,
Uh,
crowd work versus crafted work. So I argue that the comic is the one that riffs, like crowd work, and the comedian is the one that performs, like crafted
yes.
work. So
Yeah.
where is the sweet spot?
The sweet spot is in the alignment.
Right. But
That's the
what is
sweet
it?
spot.
I'm gonna get, yeah, of course it's the sweets, is the alignment, but what is the alignment?
Um, I would say the alignment is just making the audience laugh.
Okay.
Just people having a good time and knowing that laughter is the best medicine. That's
That's
just
it.
the alignment. That's just
That's it.
it. Just
The
laugh until
effect.
you can't laugh no more.
Yeah. I
Even
mean,
if I offended you, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I mean, hey, what do
so
y'all
how do
do for
you,
your culture?
yeah, yeah. How do you do that though? If ever some people are laughing, you offended another person, but you're not, you don't, I think you're arguing you're not, you haven't succeeded until even that person laughs. So how do you get them to laugh if they're offended already?
Well, if they're offended and you get them to laugh, it's really kind of hard. But then you start
Yeah,
picking at the other person. Then you got to start picking at somebody else that was laughing at the
that's,
situation.
that's true. That's true.
What you
It's,
laughing at? I know you ain't laughing. And back in your culture, they do X, Y, Z. And then that
that,
person would be like, he.
that's actually pretty good. That's a pretty way. That's it. I'm gonna give that a shot next time someone
Yeah, I
doesn't
mean,
laugh. I'm gonna be like, what the hell are you laughing at over there? The person laughing.
hey, the person
That's pretty
laughing, I
good.
know you not laughing. And I'm saying, well, in my country, I'm gonna laugh at myself. So,
Huh.
and now we're all laughing at each other.
That's pretty good, actually. So, what happens when a comic leans too much into crowd work or a comedian gets heckled?
Uh, it don't go too well, and you be like, it
Yeah.
off stage, stage left. I mean, so then you
Oh,
gotta
you're
go.
gonna,
You gotta regroup. You gotta regroup.
you
You gotta
got to
regroup.
regroup. That's for sure. But you can't get
Gotta
off.
regroup.
You still got time on the clock.
Oh, well, we still got time on the clock. So then you start referring that back to stuff that everybody should know about, like
Okay.
childhood trauma. Everybody got childhood trauma. So we can laugh about childhood trauma.
No, that
We're gonna laugh through
100%.
this pain.
Now, whose
So
childhood
I'm gonna
trauma
get
are
more
we laughing
relatable.
at? Are we going to laugh
Huh?
at you, the audience's childhood trauma or the comedian's childhood trauma?
The comedian's childhood trauma.
All
Let me
right.
tell y'all where I got my passion from. Let me tell y'all
Good.
why I'm so passionate. Because, man, I was so fat as a child, such and such. And I had to say, you know what? I got to do something. So, man, I started roasting everybody, man. And people are going to relate to that because a lot of people got bullied.
All right. That's pretty good. So basically, you're roasting the bully as a child.
If it's going
That's
to
pretty
make
good.
everybody laugh, you got to be
Huh.
relatable. You
I
got to be
like it. I
relatable.
like
So
it.
you got to find something that's relatable. And then bam, 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 you land on them.
Nice. All
And I
right.
can
So,
relate.
so advertising and self promotion. Who advertises themselves more, the comic or comedian? You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here, where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast and get the message out today. See you soon.
Uh, the comic.
Okay. Okay. So would you see self promotion as selling out or is it necessary for survival?
Well, it depends on how you're flipping it. What you did, I don't know. How you, uh, well, if you,
Let me throw
if
a
you're gonna,
curveball. Yeah, if you're advertising but you're not making money, are you selling
right?
out?
If you're advertising but you're not making money, You're not selling out. You're still promoting yourself. You're still letting people know that I'm here. Hey, you think I'm a loser, but I'm gonna be on top one day.
That's
So
right. But aren't you
you got to keep
technically
letting them
losing
see
if
your face. Right. You got to keep promoting yourself. Hey, got to be
no,
in the
I
corner
agree.
slot.
I agree. 100%. No, I agree. That's so okay, censorship and offense. So does a comic avoid offense while comedian courts it to prove a point?
Uh, this getting harder now.
Yeah.
I believe so. Sometimes they can go a little bit too hard sometimes to prove a point when the
Okay.
point was probably already proven 5 lines ago. But just in case if they feel like the audience wasn't laughing hard enough, then they just they'll just keep going harder, harder. Like and they're like you got to read once again. That means okay, you might need to jump onto another topic.
So what you're saying is the comedian may have written a whole section and they cannot deviate for whatever reason. They don't have other material. They memorize it in sequence and they cannot break the sequence, right?
Right,
And they didn't start with the strongest stuff. And now they have to just plow through to get to that last joke that they know is funny. They should have put at the beginning, but instead they put it at the end.
right. They want to
Okay.
say, yeah, it should have been at the beginning.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So who survives better in a cancel culture environment, the comic or comedian?
The comic.
Okay. Why is that?
Because they'll find ways to reinvent themselves and go out there and be more relatable and to make little skits and things like that to and then go out and be more organic with people and so and say, hey, I'm still here, and then they'll like even if they got to like be in your face at the stop sign, that's what they're gonna do. In
Hmm.
Walmart, that's what they're gonna do.
Ah, oh, I see. Oh, I got you now. So we're doing, okay. So we're going to go into the market as a comic and test out our material.
Bam.
All right.
Put
All
a
right.
hat on the put a hat downtown. Put a quarter in
That's
it if
right.
you think I'm funny.
So you're saying that the comedian won't do that.
Uh, they want to be seen on a bigger scale.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. So they're done. If they get canceled, they're not going to Walmart and starting over. They're
Nah,
just done for. All right.
they're just done.
They're done. All right. Timing
Stick a
and
fork in
delivery.
them.
Stick a fork. So timing and delivery, science or art. So do comics rely more on structure and comedians more on rhythm and emotion?
It all is an art.
Okay.
It all is an art. Okay, first of all, it's an art.
So what you're saying is the
Uh,
science, the art, science is art?
Science is art.
Okay.
Is two sides of the same coin. Um, because anything that you got to investigate and then go out there and all them steps that they teach us in
Mm-hmm.
science when you
Yeah.
want to investigate and then you find out things and you still have to do that. So when you write something and even when you're going to go out there, go to that stage, you got to know your audience, you got to know the demographics. Yeah. So I believe it's all in the mind. So
Okay.
I
So
believe it's
since you're a techie, I'm going to throw this one at you. Is AI science or art?
I believe it started as art. It started as a
AI?
drawing. It started as a thought. And then we made it into a reality. And that's the science behind the art.
Okay. But now that it's functioning on its own, is it now a science or an art?
So it is now a art of science.
Okay. That's consistent. Look, I'm trying to, make it hard and you're getting home runs here. So you're doing pretty well. All right. Laughter
Because you got
versus
to be
applause.
creative. You got to be creative to
100%.
even have thought of all that.
I'm trying to make it difficult and you're making it too easy. So let's try the next one. All right. Laughter versus applause. Are comics chasing laughs and comedians chasing applause breaks that validate the message?
They definitely, yes, yes, they definitely they want those applause. they gotta have them. They feed off of them. If you only got 3 people back there and all 3 of them drunk, but the 25 people in the front and the 3 people, yes, my boy.
Are those plants? The drunk people in the back?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They might be your cousin, your auntie, them.
No, I've experienced. Trust me. There's gonna definitely might even be the club owner that's like, "Oh my God, I got to do something here. Need to
Yeah,
bring it
yeah,
back
yeah,
to
yeah,
life."
yeah. They're gonna come here. I'll give you $5. You clap right now. Let me get that drink.
Yeah, free drink probably $5 on top of it. Here's a free drink and $5.
$5.
So comedy is commentary. When does a comedian cross into being a philosopher or a preacher?
When they want to beat you with the word,
Yep.
want to beat you, they want to beat it into you. I want to beat it, and this is what it says.
So which one? So that's the preacher. I'm assuming.
That's the preacher.
So what? So what about the philosopher? I mean, I don't see it too much with the preacher, but I do see philosopher. Can you have a rendition of the philosopher comedian?
Um, the philosopher, like when they go to recite Shakespeare, and then they find this and put Shakespeare in the comedic act.
Okay.
That's the
Well,
philosopher.
it's true. I mean, Shakespeare's tough because when he does, his version of comedy is not laugh out loud comedy.
See?
It's like dry British humor on steroids, where you're like, I think he's making a joke, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I'm not
So,
sure.
right? So,
And
so is
then
that?
25 minutes later,
Yeah, you get it. Yeah. No, that's pretty much how it goes. So, is that good, or does it dilute the humor?
um, it's good. It makes you think of the humor.
Yeah.
And
So
then
is
you
that a
can
good
find
thing?
humor in anything.
Okay. Yeah, you're definitely getting meta on that, but is it good to think about the humor or just experience it?
I think humor should be experienced. I don't think I should give it too much thought.
Right.
It might have brain infarction. I don't know. I thought too hard about it.
Yeah, that's the Shakespeare version. You're like, why am I
Right,
thinking about this? You're like,
right.
wow,
Because like-minded people. So that's what people like him, and I like people like me. I don't want to think too much about my laughter. I just want to
100%. Who wants to?
burst out with it.
Yeah, you want to be like somebody tells you, you're laughing, right? And they're like, am I?
Right. Am I? As the tears coming down.
Exactly. So comedy and vulnerability. So I argue that comics potentially hide behind their jokes and comedians expose themselves. So would you agree? Is one of them braver than the other?
I believe to a certain extent because of the vulnerability
Hmm.
that people, once again, if you're going to Walmart with your granny patty on your head or dressed like a fox, I don't know, then you really don't care. You really could give two.
I mean, I've seen some interesting videos about people doing funny things in Walmart, and that's
Right.
on the benign side because it's getting a little crazy out there,
It's getting a
right?
little crazy, so they just let it all out. Those type of people, they just like, whoo, here it is.
So
So yeah,
is one braver than the other, or
yeah, I'm okay. First of all, to even stand up and even talk to anyone, that's just takes courage. Okay, ooh, take my hand off to you. But to be vulnerable and go out there and really make people laugh, I believe that takes more vulnerability. I mean, than the other. I hate to say it. To really get
okay?
out there and not knowing what you're about to get, but then again, to get in front of a stadium and and then know you a million, 5 billion people about to watch you, that's pretty nerve-wracking as well. So,
I'm sure it is. I've never done that. I only do comedy clubs, so
oh,
150 people max.
that's
So
good.
that is good. Well, it's max. I mean, they can't literally fit any more people in there, so that would be the limit. So I'm sure that there's something else that happens at that scale when you start going into larger venues, right?
Yeah.
All right, last question. Legacy. Who gets remembered? Will the comic's tight five survive time, or will the comedian's cultural point of view be more timeless?
Mhm. I believe what lasts is timeless. To be
Okay.
timeless. to be
But
relatable, always to be relatable. That one actor, that one comedic who jokes are still, they've been going for a while, but their jokes are still relatable.
okay. So that would be that would be the comic, right? Because you may not
But that would
remember
be
who
the
they
comic then. That
you
would
don't
be the comic.
can you give an example of a joke that you remember, the joke, but not who told it?
Well, I can remember things like way down in the jungle deep, a signified monkey stepped on a something's feet. So no matter what, a great storyteller and things
Uh-huh.
like that, that's relatable. And just some of Richard Pryor, some of his
Richard
stuff.
Pryor. Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
and the one that said, Ronnie Dangerfield, I get no
Uh-huh.
respect. I get no
Yeah.
respect. Something like that, right?
Now,
So
now that's the question. Is he a comic or a comedian?
well, he was a little bit of both because he did movies and he did stand up. And he
That's
still is relatable. Like I sometimes you feel like you don't get no respect. I don't
that's
care what year that
oh
is.
yeah.
What
That's true. And maybe that's part of the evolution is when a funny person starts doing movies, they automatically become a comedian, right?
yes, that's what it seems like. Yes.
It does. Now, I sometimes see some of them potentially skip the whole stand up, right? They're kind of
Yes.
right? So we have like, oh my
But they're
gosh,
not that funny.
they're not that funny?
No.
Oh, when they skipped over? Oh, that's
We
possibly the
can
case.
tell it. We can tell the skipper.
Okay, who do you know a skipper? Is
Uh
there anyone you can think of?
I can
Ah,
tell some people haven't been on it for long, then they got on it on the bigger scale.
yeah, that's
You
true.
can tell people like Steve Harvey
Okay,
and other people, you could tell they were actually in the grime of things.
okay. Or
And
he's just really good at making it seem like that.
well, you got to have lived it to still wear it sometimes. So,
Unless you're a really
which,
good actor,
well,
right?
unless you're a really good actor, but you can't keep it up but for so long.
Yeah, I agree. Arguably, it's really hard to find that place, to be
Right.
consistent about this life experience you never had, right?
That
So
you never had. That's right. You're just a
very hard.
facade, but you're not. You're just going off of somebody else's stand-up jokes.
That's a comic, right?
That's a comic. Yeah.
That's a
So we're gonna
comic.
need for you to be a comedic and be original and come up with your own lines.
100%, 100%. Well, Tanisha, thank you so much for being my guest. Is there anywhere you like everyone to find you online?
Oh, they can just always Google my name.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm an easy person to find. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram and
awesome.
YouTube and things like that. But hopefully you'll be seeing me soon with my new app. Also my new
Absolutely.
iPad.
That's going to be awesome. I'm anticipating. I really want to see this thing launch. Do you have a launch date in mind or it's a secret?
No, not yet, but we're working on it. So hopefully within this year we'll have the app launch. My patent will hopefully be official.
Mm-hmm.
I've been waiting for that for about 3 years. So hopefully it'll
Yeah.
be official by August.
Awesome. 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 Well, thank you so much. And everyone else, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.